Hello everyone, I am the Beardy Red Viking, and this is a review of the new Kurokuma album of Amber and Sand. Hello and welcome back to my channel. Thank you for joining me. Today, as mentioned in the intro, I'm going to be reviewing of Amber and Sand, the brand new Kurokuma album, which was released on Friday the 9th of August. Now, as you can see, I don't have a physical copy of the album because as we are talking right now, we are currently on the 7th of August, so the album hasn't yet been released. I've been listening to a pre-release review copy of it digitally. I will be picking this album up hopefully in the near future, so that might be a little bit of a spoiler as to the general opinion on the album. But despite the band having been active since 2014, I first became aware of Kurokuma when they played Damnation Festival last year. Sadly, I only caught the first few quite unique and even slightly bizarre minutes of their set on the day before heading to another stage to see another band. Having now spent around about a week or so listening to the second album, I deeply regret missing the rest of that show. Of Amber and Sand opens with the crowing of a rooster, quickly followed by a knockout punch to the face. I Am Forever quickly delivers the first among many meaty riffs. This is an opus that is absolutely jam-packed with them. And whilst unafraid of guitar parts that absolutely demand you pull your filthiest of dirt faces, there are also doomier moments with slowed down sections and screeched, anguished vocals. However, this trio is particularly adept at producing neat melodic flourishes and unusual rhythms, frequently pausing the violence with passages of traditional Middle Eastern sounding instrumentation, brought to the table by vocalist and guitarist Jake, who comes from an Armenian and Turkish background and now lives in Bulgaria, which also adds a flavour of the Balkans which wasn't present in the debut album. Drummer Joe also likes to travel the world seemingly and is currently living in Albania, which leaves only bassist Joe currently still living on these shores. All of these influences add a genuinely interesting dynamism to the record, as well as a real sense of atmosphere. Essentially a 6-track album, which is one more than their 5-track 2022 debut, Born of Obsidian. This is interspersed with short ambient interludes between them, so they definitely have room to show off those more ethnically and culturally diverse tendencies across its runtime. The album's concept, essentially it's a record about time and space, extends to the artwork depicting a praying mantis trapped in amber, surrounded by sand, as you can see in this digitally inserted image right here. Joe explains the mantis trapped in amber on the cover. It's been there potentially millions of years, preserved and unmoving while civilizations have come and gone. Species have been born into being, evolved and become extinct. Yet this mantis is frozen in that one pose, a snapshot relic of the past to be admired throughout history. This motive sums up a lot of what the album, and I'd say the band as well, is all about. Now, with a thick, punchy and well-rounded production, the bass tone is crushingly heavy, which complements the ferocity of the guitars very nicely indeed. There's a fantastic crack to the snare drum, and my only real criticism of the production is that for me, in heavier sections, I feel that the bass drum gets slightly lost in the mix and I'd like to hear it further up with a bit more volume. Vocally, there's a compelling blend of deep, heavy growls and tortured, raspy vocals, as well as the occasional slightly maniacal burst, reminiscent of System of a Down, such as in Fenjan. That same track is built around a distinctive bass line and fully embraces the quirkier, more melodic side of the group's varied sound. Described as a vicious psych trio, Kurokuma skillfully blend doom metal with groovy, seriously heavy, stompy riffs, as well as hints of droning, sludgy, mid-paced death metal, and there's definitely an atmospheric, psychedelic edge to their music. As mentioned, some of those riffs are very heavy and very stompy, which brings to mind the sonics of Whisper It, some of nu metal's finer moments. But despite all these descriptors, to paraphrase the press release, it's not sludge, it's not doom, it's not death metal, and it's certainly not nu metal. It's Kurokuma. Now, this could be seen as something of a bold statement, but the band back it up, as they have definitely created a sound that is entirely their own. Closing track Chronoclasm, it's a bit of a tongue twister for me, sums up Of Amber and Sand nicely. It's an epic 10-minute journey through their entire repertoire of sounds. The album takes you on a sonic odyssey across the unforgiving desert, as well as through space and time, and that it seems to be over all too soon is a credit to their songwriting craft. Standout tracks for me would be I Am Forever, the opening song, Death No More. Both of those are on the heavier end of the tracks within this album, and then Fenjan, which I mentioned earlier on, has a bit more of the flavour of those Middle Eastern sort of melodies and a bit more of that ambience and atmosphere, and is probably built more around about that as well as the bass line. Overall, this album is superb. I would give it 4 Milners out of 5. Recorded at Stuck on a Name in Nottingham with Bulty, Of Amber and Sand was self-released by the band on the 9th of August and is available on CD, vinyl and digitally. Order now at kurokumauk.bandcamp.com. Make sure you do that. Make sure you give the album a listen. As I say, I was absolutely enthralled by this. It's a fantastic release. I also spent some time listening to their debut album as well because I hadn't heard that first, and to contextualise this against that, there's definitely a few changes in sound, but I'd say overall, sonically, it's a similar kind of atmosphere and vibe to the music contained within Of Amber and Sand. But I highly recommend that you give this album a listen as soon as you can do. I hope you enjoyed the video today. Thanks very much for watching, and if you did enjoy it, please leave me a like. If you would like to subscribe, you can find the option to do so down below. I would also be very interested in reading your comments. So thanks very much once again. Take care. Beardy Red Viking, out.